But yeah, thanks so much for coming, everyone. I'm going to have our Executive Director, Mercedes Rodriguez, give us a few opening remarks. So Mercedes, if you don't mind coming up here, right here so that the Zoom can see you. And we have some people on Zoom, so everyone say hi to Monica and Charlie. They're saying hi here.
Hi everyone, good morning. Don't you love what we were left with after COVID? We can do hybrid meetings, hybrid graduation. So some of us are in person and some of us are long distance. So it's great to be able to have all of you here. I know I didn't get to meet all of you individually. I know I didn't get to shake hands with all of you. Every time you guys attended, all of the wonderful stuff that our ladies had going, but you know, nonetheless, it's great to see the enthusiasm that was put behind this project, not only by the mentors, but by the mentees. You know, I think that our initial goal when looking for funding for this program was, one, to revitalize our agricultural sector with our young people and make sure that, you know, the agricultural ways within this community are revitalized. You know, we are having aging farmers and ranchers, and our younger generations are leaving us. You know, they seem to think that there isn't any economic benefit behind agricultural ways. And so we need to change that around. And I think TCEDC, one grain at a time, is starting to change things around, and the outlook is a little bit different for us. This is the first mentorship program for TCEDC. This is the actual first cohort for the mentorship program. So lessons learned, you know, definitely are going to need you guys' input on, you know, how we can make things better and what we could have done differently. You know, these girls have been wonderful, you know, to be able to bring it to where it's at now. And we definitely have our own list that we've created along the way, but we would love to hear from you guys as well. We were thinking about it and I was like, wow, has it been 6 months ago since this got started and since you guys really took this venture on, and here we are at graduation day. So I want to congratulate all of you for all the time spent, for all the hours that you guys put in, for the traveling that you guys did to the areas that these ladies took you to. It's great again to see that enthusiasm. I think that we can't thank you enough, you know, and I think for us, you know, at TCEDC and administration-wise, being able to know that we had mentors, you know, that were able to dedicate, and willing more than anything, you know, to dedicate the time that was needed to be able to mentor, you know, and have a mentee with you. It was great. You know, it's great to see seasoned farmers and ranchers, people that we've worked with for a long time, you know, Mark, Andy, or Robert. And, you know, it was just great to see everyone. I want to give a great thank you and a big round of applause for our two ladies who have taken us Abby Warman and Gabby Kretschner. Every time I say it, I mess it up. I'm so sorry. They have done an amazing job. I couldn't be more thankful for them too. They were able to take a little grain of salt and make it into a masterpiece. I mean, it came from nothing. It came from an idea that went on paper for a proposal that was written to USDA. It came from a desire of wanting this and knowing that this is what we need in our community. But it really came from nothing. We had not done a mentorship before. We had not participated through a mentorship before. So I think we went out and we did a little bit of research. But when Gabby and Abby took it over, it was night and day. You know, they were able to transform it. They were able to bring you guys to where you guys are at right now. So I can't thank them enough. TCEDC, you know, really has scored with these two. They already have ideas for the next program, and it's wonderful to see. Last thing I want to close with, I want to make sure that you guys realize that it's going to take all of us to really revitalize it, to change the agricultural scene in our area, you know, to really bring the young people and to make sure that our agricultural ways aren't lost. It's going to take all of us. So I want to make sure that this cohort understands the importance of you guys still committing to this, okay? This isn't a graduation, here's your certificate, it's over, and go on your way. You know, stay committed, you know, stay in touch with, not only with us, but with your mentors, you know. You as mentees, your mentors with your mentees. you know, it's an ongoing thing. There's never enough learning to be done in this agricultural sector. You know, those of you who are seasoned, you know, will know it's a lifelong thing, and that you guys can pass that on to someone, and that there's someone listening on the other end. It's great to see, and it's really re-energizing. And so again, I want to thank you guys for your commitment. I welcome, you know, you guys to come in and let us know what you think we could have done better. We've got one more year, we've got on the grant, and it'll be our second mentorship program. We definitely want to make sure that those things that were missed on this and anything that could have been done better can be done. And so that'll then help us to continue this mentorship program. I truly believe that mentorship is not only an investment in time, but it's an investment in community and culture. And so let's keep that going in. Applause to all of you, applause to TCEDC team. There's a couple of them in the room that I'd like to mention before. Joella Mondragon, which is my executive assistant. Flor Serna, which is our programs director. Patty in the back, our communications director. And of course, Abby and Gabby, which are, you know, invaluable to this program. So thank you guys, and I'll let you guys get to it.
Thank you so much, Mercedes.
You're welcome.
Yeah, a few of you guys may have noticed there's a camera crew in the back. So this is True Kids 1 filming. We have Gabby and Alexis. Thanks so much for coming, guys. They're putting together, I think we've talked about this earlier, but putting together a promotional video for the mentorship program for next year. And they might be pulling some of you aside after graduation to speak about your experience. So thanks for being here, guys. And then we have Patty filming for TCEDC, so this graduation will be up on our YouTube, and everyone can access it whenever they want if you ever feel like reliving this moment. Yeah, so thanks so much for being here today, guys, and thanks for participating in the Regenerative Ranching Program this year. As Mercedes was saying, we haven't really emphasized it that much this season, but this year was a pilot program, so thanks so much for agreeing to be our guinea pigs. I think we all learned a lot. And so much of my experience during this program was learning alongside you guys at workshops, but also really learning from you guys. I can now say that I've learned enough to know that I have miles more to learn about agricultural business planning and low-stress animal handling and why we love value-added meats, and about how this valley as we know it is directly shaped by grazing animals as a formative piece of an intricate and evolving ecosystem. But mostly I learned that I'm astounded by the humans who make this happen by dedicating themselves to the dance of managing livestock to ensure the animals get fed, the people get fed, and the soil gets fed so we can all keep eating. And as usual with the professions that do the gritty work, they keep our environment healthy for everyone's well-being. I learned that it's nothing short of miraculous to turn a profit from this delicate balance of livestock and water and forage and fences. It requires long, long days, a finely tuned financial strategy, a lifetime of trial and error, and willingness to adapt. But it also requires a community who has mentors who are willing to share their knowledge with others who want to learn, because they know that agriculture is what sustains life and culture in and outside of this valley, on a level greater than putting food on plates, but stewarding the watershed and the soil that supports us. So thank you so, so much to the mentors who have shared your time and knowledge with your mentees and with the whole cohort. I'm really honored to hear what you guys are doing, and I'm blown away by your work, truly. I hope that this program felt fulfilling for you and having a little help on the ranch, but also in connecting with someone newer to the field who chose to be in this program because they thought that you had something valuable to teach them. And mentees, thank you for your participation in the program and for your enthusiasm throughout. I really valued hearing from lots of you about your experiences, about what you found particularly helpful with your mentors, and it was such a pleasure for me to get a little window into your lives and your aspirations. Choosing to pursue this path is truly an admirable endeavor, and we look forward to continuing to work with you and supporting you however we can. Gabby and I were able to make it to a few of your ranches, but I hope that one day we can make it out to more of them. And I hope you guys don't mind if we invite ourselves over. Thanks to everyone who's involved in leading any of the workshops. We're really fortunate to have many knowledgeable and skilled people in our area. Like truly, we have such a wealth of knowledge here in this area. People who are stoked to teach animal handling in the snow or bring their label maker into a classroom for show and tell, and have a group of people who are going to be really excited to see it. Lots of people went into the planning and implementation of this program. De La Tierra members, current and former TCEDC staff, experts like Dave Carter and George Whitten, and it wouldn't have been what it was without any of them. So shout out to lots of people in this room, Mercedes, Joella, Flor, Patty, Gabby especially. Yeah, and a lot of you know Jillian Joyce, but she was super integral in connecting me with a lot of people who helped lead these workshops, so shout out to Jillian also. And we at TCEDC and De La Tierra want to support you in whatever ways we can in your farming and ranching endeavors in the future, so please stay in touch. We really want to know what's going on with you guys. And I'm not just saying that, we really do want to know what's going on with you guys. We'd love to see you in the Resource Center or at any of our upcoming workshops or happy hours or coffee hours, etc. And we're really looking forward to hearing your feedback about the mentorship program this season and using it to shape our program next year. And I'm going to hand it over to the mentees now, who are going to give us a little glimpse of what they've been up to with their mentors since March. So thank you, everyone. And Monica is going to go first via Zoom.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on the speaker really quickly. Just give me 1 moment. Iron this out. Okay, here we are. We're on the screen. So if you want to go ahead and share your screen, and I tried to connect it to the speaker. So I'll check the audio.
While we're getting this set up, we're going to pass around these Post-it notes for the evaluation that we're going to do later. So everyone take a pen, and I think Gabby and mentees take blue.
Mentees take yellow.
Okay, mentees take yellow Post-it notes, and mentors take blue Post-it notes. So just grab a pen and a stack of Post-it notes, and write your name on all the Post-it notes. That's one activity. Mentees yellow.
Okay, and then when you check your
Mentees
audio,
yellow,
see if
mentors
it's connected
blue.
to the speaker.
That's getting
Yeah, hold on. 1 moment.
You could also maybe like hold the mic up.
Yeah, I'll just hold the mic up to it.
okay.
Okay, yeah. I'll just put a speaker next to this.
I will start. Thank you so much for indulging me and letting me hear my
Hold on.
and also
Monica, can you hold on for 1 second? We just want to make sure that everyone can hear you.
Sure. Test 1, 2, 3.
Can everyone hear Monica?
Sorry about that.
I think that's up. Okay, that's better. Okay, go ahead.
Buenos días, desdeños. I'm Monica Rodriguez. Test. I grew up in the La Mesilla Sequia in the beautiful Espanola Valley on an 8-acre farm, and I currently grow a garden of maíz and calabacitas on the Acequia Santa Cecilia. Their headwaters are near Guyana, New Mexico, where I am part of a large ranching family, and we've been in the area for time immemorial or several generations. You guys might also already know that I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for the New Mexico Acequia Association, and acequias are self-governing autonomous units of government. There are over 700 in our beautiful state, and our focus is on supporting acequias with their community obligations, disaster recovery, and infrastructure. We also nurture and educate future and current acequeros through a pedagogy of escuelitas so they can continue to grow and ranch in traditional methods. We are also advocates for clean water and local grown agriculture that benefits every Nuevo Mexican. I am retired from the New Mexico Judiciary. I was there for 20 years and I worked mostly in child welfare and juvenile justice, creating systems and managing court programs. My free time, I sit on the New Mexico Land Grant Council, New Mexico Community Governance Attorney Commission, and I volunteer for my land grant, the San Joaquin del Rio de Chama. We have several projects that sustain and renew traditional agricultural methods, and I can also be heard on New Mexico Public Radio Airways. I'm a radio DJ, and I've been a radio DJ for over 12 years. Currently, I'm at KUNM, and you can hear me on Saturday mornings as part of the Races Collective. And finally, I'm the producer, director, writer of 3 original plays, and have participated in over 25 community theater productions focused on Nuevo Mexicanos and Chicano stories. But the role I enjoy most is being that of abuelita and playing and singing with my grandsons. This photo here was taken during the Laguna fire that happened starting June 26th. This is a photo from the U.S. Forest Service drone towards Cebolla, where my mentor Charlie Hibner ranches, and shows some of the hot spots over Mesa Alta. And it's important because the canyon right here is Mesa de la Presa, which means the mesa or cañon where the actual water diversion happened on the San Joaquin del Rio de Chama land grant. And some of our worries that whole watershed may be destroyed when the rains finally come. I also want to say thank you to Charlie Hibner for being so gracious with his time and so reassuring. And he has a beautiful ranch up in Cebolla, so I really enjoyed spending time with him and his family. You guys prompted us with 3 questions. What are your intentions for growing cattle? What are your challenges? And what were your successes? And so when I first joined the program, it was really to give language or lexicon to the traditional techniques of Nuevo Mexicanos. We've been growing beef in this area for a very long time, but I don't know that I understood or had language for the methods that we were using, except that it was somewhat ingrained in me, and I knew what it was, but I didn't know what to call it. So I thought there must be language in English, and it's called regenerative beef growing, instead of the techniques that we've been using for a long time. It was also to inform my own desire to continue ranching, as some of the speakers have already touched on. Ranching is a dying occupation. Most people that ranch in New Mexico have 2 or 3 different jobs, and ranching is just part of the work that they do. And so I do have a strong desire to continue that so that my grandsons and my son can live the herencia that I have lived. Some of the challenges I already talked about was the fire. So the fire escaped the U.S. Forest Service's control on July 12th. And so somewhat in the middle of our programming, a lot of my time and resources were spent trying to help my family, 1, find and rescue animals, and 2, to also inform the media and the public and work with the U.S. Forest Service to figure out a process to contain, and then also to educate them as well on fire and how it should be used responsibly. And finally, the biggest one was time. I was living in 2 or 3 different places this summer. I run a youth conservation corps with my land grant, so that's in Guyana, so I was there 4 days a week, and then in Albuquerque the rest of the time, working for New Mexico Acequias. But my biggest successes are definitely friendship. I feel like Charlie will be a lifelong friend. And funny enough, once we started working with each other, he asked me, "Are you related to?" Which is something that often happens in northern New Mexico. And I said, "Yes, those are my uncles." And he said, "Did they ever tell you about the time we got fired from our volunteer job?" And I said, "No, I never heard of that story." So I did ask my uncles about it, and so we shared that, and it was really nice. Everybody knows Charlie up north, and so it was great to be able to be in his stewardship. And then, of course, support. When my family ranch was on fire, the ranchers up north pulled together, wanting to provide feed, water, money, anything, to cover veterinary costs. And so there is a huge cohort of support among ranchers, and that's a lifelong thing, and I really am grateful for that. And finally, it was enjoyable. I really enjoyed my time outside. I enjoyed my time visiting the ranches, and of course, spending time with Charlie and his family. Here's a photo of my grandchildren, my son Michael, and they are taking care of a cow that lost its mother, and in Spanish we call that a penco, and I'm sure many of you have probably bottle fed a penco that couldn't be attached to another mom, But this particular cow lost its mom in the fire, and so we were caring for it one day, and everybody came up to pitch in, and it was the first time for my grandsons to touch and be around animals so closely. So it was a very special moment for us. I'm sorry for the graphic photos, but these are probably the least graphic, and I'm going to get a little emotional because, yeah, the fire has been really difficult. We spent days and days and days looking for animals. So far, we've lost 20 animals, 10 immediately to the fire, and it's a terrible way for an animal to be lost. And you can see here some of the mothers' teats are burnt. Their hooves were burnt, and I'm not sure why the U.S. Forest Service made the decision to burn in the middle of June, which is notoriously the most driest month in New Mexico. The monsoons are not predictable. They have not come to this area. We have not gotten any measurable rain in the area, and the fire continues to burn over 17,000 acres and counting. So the regenerative techniques that I asked Charlie that I wanted to take part in were soil health. Charlie worked for the USDA as a soil health expert, and so it made sense that it would be the most important lesson that he would be able to give me. And the first day that we went out, we, of course, looked for cows, looked for water, and we also looked at the measurable difference in property that is well taken care of, this photo in the middle, versus property or land that has been left to no treatment and no brush hogging. This property, I believe, belongs to the BLM alone, and the third picture on our far right is an allotment that Charlie has that he's been able to treat successfully, and then of course here all the sagebrush where it's taken over. And I often joke that I wish something ate sagebrush, but nothing does. Nothing eats chamiso, sometimes deer when it's very tender, but for the most part, it doesn't have anything that will eat it. Cows won't eat it, and if it becomes what Charlie taught me, if it becomes so clustered like this, it's very difficult to treat and get it back to rangeland. Charlie also showed me the equipment that he uses. He has a large industrial brush hog that he uses to treat the chamiso, and some of this acreage was seeded in the 1950s, or maybe later. Charlie probably has the right date on that, but continues to regenerate with the help of the cows, and it looks like this. I can't think of anything more beautiful than Charlie's pasture. Here we go. This is my photo. This is the brush hog that we used, and again, another photo showing treated and untreated grassland. This was our visit out to the Taos sheep farm, which is really impressive, and I think what I learned there the most is you gotta try everything. There's lots of methods to raising animals, and we all love our animals, but some of it is by trial and error. And the gentleman that we went out to visit, he was brand new to sheep farming, and so he was trying a lot of different methods, electric fence, as you guys might recall, and different ways to keep the sheep in check, including animals with burros to keep them safe from the coyotes. And this is me feeding one of Charlie's cows some cow cake. He calls that cow cake, and it definitely is, as the cows know that we're coming and they know they're going to get a nice tasty treat. This was a workday out on Lucas Escobar's ranch. Lucas did a really great job of organizing this workday, and we learned a lot. We learned about mushroom injection into the soil, and we all got the chance to take part in that and watch the demonstration. And Lucas had us put together some tree cages so that the trees would be safe from deer and elk consumption. And then just another photo of the whole group that was there. It was very well attended, and the meal was fantastic, and the camaraderie was great. It was great to meet with everyone. Here we are planting those trees. I think they used a program through the USFS to get these trees, and they were all different. And we planted them up on these berms to help with some of the erosion control and keep that soil in good top condition. And there's just a photo of me in my shadow planting one of the little seedlings. And this was a great day. Savoy is an absolutely beautiful place. Fence work. work. I wanted Charlie to teach me about fences because I know it's very important to keeping cattle where they go and making sure we comply with New Mexico fence outlaws. And so here's Charlie working his drill. He, some people might say over-engineers his fences, but I think he's doing it the right way. They're not going anywhere. His fences include a deadman on the H-brace to make sure that they don't sag or slip or go anywhere. And here's Charlie demonstrating how he drills the hole to get that barbed wire through and got to use the fence jack. And yeah, Charlie's fences are in great shape. And so I think if you do the work up front, then it saves you a lot of pain and agony on the back end. Charlie Hibner, I can't say enough about him. He's just a great, great human. He is a ranching giant. And he taught me a couple things. One, like I said, ranchers, we love our animals. We want the best for them. We want them to grow up in loving environments. And Charlie said, Charlie said, we don't stress or yell at our animals. And when I shared this with my family, they said, we don't yell at cattle, we just yell at each other. And about right, because it can be stressful when cows don't do what you want them to do, and of course they're very strong-willed, and they're going to go where they're going to go. And so I think the class out at the Martinez farm is really important, telling us, giving us lessons on how to think like a cow, approach from the flank. And mamas will do anything to stay with their calf. So always keep that in mind. They're the best mamas in the world. And most importantly, it's okay to start again. And if you get frustrated, just restart. Charlie, of course, the soil health knowledge that he had was passed on to me, and through the demonstrations that we had, the 6 principles, knowing that dirt has thousands of components, including the microbes that live in it that keep the soil growing well and keeping it intact so that there's no erosion and so that animals can get the nutrients that they need from it. And this harkens back to Nuevo Mexicano basics. We didn't till in New Mexico for a long, long time. And then the USDA during the Dust Bowl decided that tilling was a bad thing, but before that it was pretty much, it was very much encouraged. But Nuevo Mexicanos, for the most part, don't do that. We let our land be used regeneratively by bringing in animals to eat the garden after it's done, letting what they leave behind nurture the soil, and then in the spring coming back to it to a nice rich soil. So incorporating animals into everything that we grow and using the acequia to bring down the nutrients that garden needs. So I think the soil health principles also remind me a lot of the things that we have been doing as Nuevo Mexicanos for a long time. And I just thought this was important. It was good to see sheep again. My family grew sheep until like the 1980s, my Uncle Jake and my Aunt Helen and Rito. But sheep was pretty much the dominant ruminant in New Mexico for a very long time. And my family grew sheep for a long time too. And then cattle, of course, was introduced later, and my own family transitioned over to beef. I think my grandfather transitioned probably in the early 1930s. But my two, Jake and them, continued to grow sheep for a very long time. And it was really special. Sometimes we would get a people, a little sheep, lamb that lost its mother, and we were able to bottle feed that little lamb and take care of it because my uncle and my aunt had enough sheep to take care of. So that was a special time. And finally, fences should be made to last. That's probably the best lesson I learned from Charlie. Put a little work up front, and you're going to have a fence that's going to last a long, long time and that you can trust. What am I planning and looking forward to in my future ranching endeavors? Well, I couldn't help but think my life is kind of a little bit like Antonio. He's the protagonist in the Bless Me Ultima story by Rodolfo Anaya. His mother comes from the Lunas, who are farmers, and that would be my dad's family. My dad's family farmed in the Espanola area, and my mom's family, the Vaqueros, the Mareses, they grew cattle. And so I've had both traditions, and I've been able to dabble in both traditions. For most of my life, though, I've been a farmer, and I've grown quite a bit. And at one point, I think I told Charlie, I said, Charlie, I think I'm a farmer. Ranching is really, really hard. And especially when the water doesn't come and you're chasing water, which most people were doing this summer, and including in farming, we were chasing water all summer long. And so I'm not sure what my destiny holds. I think right now, I think that I'd like to grow in small paddocks. Probably, I have 30 acres in Guyana that I'd like to grow in about 5 acre to 10 acre paddocks with a rotation, and maybe grow 4 to 5 cows, just for my own consumption and my own enjoyment. But I think that's where I'm at now. And yeah, and of course grow the right pasture for them within that acreage. My family does have U.S. Forest Service allotments, as you saw, and so they've already approached me if this is the road I go down about working with them through that permit system. And I know not everybody is permittees, but it is a great way in order to have pasture for your cattle, and it's the way we've grown for millennia. We move animals into the forest for the summer, and they get their pasture from there, and it grows really healthy and beautiful beef. And then the last question was, what did I get from this? Of course, community. Verna and Charlie, I would consider them part of my ranching cattle community. I made new friends. This is a little girl that was out at the sheep farm, and we had lots of laughs. So it's good to have a community that is good-humored and can, even in the frustrating time, can not laugh. So this is Charlie's outhouse out way back in the ranch when nature calls. There's somewhere to go. And so it really is a room with a beautiful view with the Taos Mountains in the background. And then finally, I kind of, without saying agua es vida, water is life. And so we need to protect and take care of it. And regenerative beef plays a role in that. Like I said, it's been part of our process for a really long time, and animals on the landscape help maintain that balance. So that's what it's all about. And finally, I would just say, recently I was asked about what does it mean to be someone of the land? Because New Mexicans consider themselves gente de la tierra, people of the land. I thought about that because we say that word a lot, especially in a sequia world. And I thought, I know what it means. It means that every decision I make is informed by nature. So whenever I have a hard decision to make, I can look to nature and the answers are there. And so I think this issue with water shortage in New Mexico, that's where the answers are going to be. They're going to be back to what is the earth asked for us, what is it asking us to do, and just like water, water knows what to do. When you open the acequia, it knows where to go. It knows where to flow. With our help, it'll get to its destination. And so I just want to again thank Charlie and Berna and Kyle, his son, because ranching is a family affair. All of the folks out at Taos Economic Development, and of course the cohort. Thank you guys for being so flexible and indulgent. I don't know that I could have done it in any other way, and so you guys made it work, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you guys.
And I don't think I mentioned this earlier, I don't know if you guys caught this, but we have the presentation order. So next up we have Abe. Sorry, that was a little short notice. Yeah, just a reminder to keep the presentations about 5 minutes or less so that we have time to eat for lunch.
Right, I can do that. So back to follow. My name is Abraham Brown. I live in Penasco. My family's been there for 3 generations now. And I'm a mentee. My mentor was Andy Martinez. And I was really honored to be his mentee this summer. Just being around him was a huge learning experience. Pretty much everything that he says is valuable information. So just being with him and working on the acequia, branding cows, working on fences, baling hay, stacking hay, being with him and his son, just learning all the time. So yeah, we spent our mentorship, basically doing that. We spent one day working on the acequias and irrigating. We spent a day ranching cattle, and we spent a day baling hay, and we spent 2 days up in the forest on public lands working on fences. As I said, my greatest takeaways has just been being around Mr. Martinez and being able to learn, you know, just every day, you know, we just talk about whatever it is that we were doing. So when we were up on public lands, we would talk about, you know, what it is to the different ins and outs of holding a forest permit or a lease with the BLM, and Andy's just a wealth of knowledge on all that. When we were working on the acequias, we were trying to bring to life an old acequia that had been overgrown, and so that was like, just, it always feels good to work on something that has, you know, kind of fallen apart over the years and not been taken care of, and try to bring it back to life, similar to like what we were doing on the fencing. One of the challenges was, you know, coordinating with each other. We both have busy lives, so I work full time, and so we can only work on the weekends. And so, you know, I felt like I was a little bit of a burden to him at times, trying to coordinate times that we could get together. And then for future endeavors, you know, I hope to continue ranching. I'm building my herd now. I just got my 3 heifers bred this summer. Just found myself about 4 or 5 acres of pasture that I should have a long-term lease on, and hopefully get some more heifers next summer, and just keep building. And this is a huge step in that direction for me, and getting to know Andy. I hope that I'll be able to, you know, lean on him in the future sometimes, and give him a call if I have a question. And so this was a huge stepping stone for me, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Abe. I'd like to have Martine, we're going to get your time set up. And you can click through the slides yourself on Gabby's laptop.
Open this door a little bit, some air.
Yeah, I think we can click it. Oh, yeah. So you just go like this.
Alrighty, my name is Martin Jaramillo. I'm a mentee.
Yes.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay, hello, I'm Martin Jaramillo. I'm the mentee, and Leo was my mentor. And here's some of our experiences. Okay, for the program. At the beginning of the program, I want to learn methods to grow crops for harvesting and grazing my sheep. I also want to learn ways to plant crops and best ways for maintaining a healthy soil. It was also important for me to learn how to make the most out of what I had with my small herd of sheep, such as sales and meat or selling offspring lambs. Throughout the program, I began to understand that rotational grazing would be a practice I needed to start to eliminate overgrazing and maintaining the health of my soil. I also learned that seeding with a no-till drill would be best for my operation and planting cover crops. Leo and I gained access to a no-till drill and planted a cover crop. We watched as our winter rye grew and made the most of the water we had for irrigation. Some challenges. So throughout the program, I began to understand that there are many challenges to running a farm or a ranch. As our crops grew, it was time to harvest our hay. For the winter, we watched the weather daily and hoped to get a window of no rain so we could cut, rake, and bale without our crop getting rained on. As much as we loved watching the rain in the forecast, we knew we needed a few days to be able to cut our hay. Luckily enough, the window of no rain in the forecast presented itself. We got all of our fields cut and hay stacked in the barn before any more rain came our way. This was a success to us because we have hay in for the winter, and now we can hope for more rain and irrigation to get a second cutting before winter. Some techniques and soil principles that we used rotational grazing to help avoid overgrazing. It allows our crops to regrow and fresh feed for each moving. We also used bale grazing to help keep our cover on the ground. We were trying to help the soil underneath to not be so hot, which allows our seeds to grow. We also use a no-till drill, which doesn't tear up healthy soil, allows healthy organisms to stay in the ground, giving us the best chance for germinations of our seeds planted. In the future, as I continue to learn and grow my operation, I look forward to continuing the practices I have implemented and making the most of them. I also would like to move into meat marketing and be able to sell directly to consumers. I would also like to continue selling lamb for forage, as I felt it is important for the youth. Also, I would like to make the most out of available farmland I have so I can maintain feed for my sheep and not have to buy elsewhere. I will continue to plant cover crops and begin planting perennial crops such as alfalfa and brome grass to have good pasture and hay for my sheep. Throughout the program, I have learned lots from my mentor Leo and others I have met during the program. I feel like I've made many contacts to continue learning as I continue my journey, raising sheep with the help of Leo. We will continue to work together and grow our operation on the Tierra Mama. All right, here's a picture of our piece of property that we have that we're trying to work on. Here's a picture of the few sheep that we have. And then Leo taught me some irrigation techniques that we use a pipe over here to try and pretty much use gravity to help us irrigate because the ditch is pretty low compared to the field. And then this is us seeding on our property with the no-till drill.
Is that the lamppost drill?
No, we got one from Chris, as we know. So.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then here's the best thing of the whole year, picking up hay. This is our cover crop that we planted. It got pretty tall throughout the year, so now we want to put our sheep on it, try to graze it and stuff. Keep some going on the ground. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. At least I have this whiteboard. Do you want to use it?
No, I think I'm just going to talk about it. Hi, everyone.
Push it up. Is that better? Yeah. Hi. I'm Elise, and I have a few sheep. They're actually out here with our donkey. But my mentor was Mark, and that was awesome. I wanted to work with Mark because what we do with our sheep is trying to have them graze on different parcels of land, not ours, to regenerate the soil and really help other farmers, mostly farmers or people with orchard, like to have good soil and good crops. And so I wanted to work with Mark, who does that, and I want to give a shout out to Mark because I learned so much. And 6 months pregnant, so I was not a lot of help around. I was looking, people lift hay and get close to cattle, and I was just taking a step back. So, thank you for being okay with that and making that work. I think the biggest takeaway for me for that mentorship was I had a pretty linear vision of what it took to have livestock. You would seed, then you would irrigate, and then you would put your animals in the field, or you would hay. And that was kind of it, and you would do that in different places, and that would work great. And working with Mark, I feel like I really got a better sense of all the things that it entails, especially being in different places where you have to deal with different environments. So the reason why I wanted a whiteboard is now I have a circle in my life, a cycle of things that you have to watch out for. And I would say that you have your vegetation, you can be intentional about it, what you're planting, when you're planting it, and then how you irrigate it, when you can irrigate it, how you do that. And I learned a lot of practical irrigation tricks with you. And then from there, you also have to watch out for the weeds that you have around, but that's not a one-time, oh, I took care of my weeds, I'm good. It's actually like you have to come back and watch what's growing and take care of that and maybe decide, I'm going to put my animals there now because the weed hasn't gone to seed and that's going to work out pretty good. Or I'm going to bale graze, which you do a lot, you know, putting bales of hay on licorice is what we did, and was like, oh, okay, that way the cows are going to eat more of that. So that was really interesting to put it in my cycle of things. Then the pest management with the prairie dogs, that's a thing that I come across a lot with what I want to do, bringing sheep to new places where the land maybe is not that healthy and there is a lot of prairie dogs around. So learning with you, like how you take care of that, how you put them really, but like getting them out of there so that vegetation can grow. That was cool. I mean, that was interesting. Maybe not cool. And then, you know, then you can put your livestock, and obviously that's where a lot of the money is. It's like getting animals you can sell for meat later on, and understanding that timing and how you control them. The electric fencing, again, that was cool to see how one strand of electric fence works for cattle, and I'm around shopping my nets for sheep, you know, different deal. And then I guess the last part that was really interesting and that I did not expect either was really the understanding of the ecosystem at large with the forestry and the watershed, and you know a lot. So it was cool to be able to understand how you know, what has happened in the forest has impacted our mountains, and then how, you know, this watershed works in this specific way, and you can expect this because we have a high water table, and you cannot expect that because this is a different kind of situation. So that was a lot of practical learning for me, because I want to take my sheep kind of all over the place, and I will need more of that. So I think the next steps for me is just to continue on doing that and keep Mark's number. Yeah, that was really cool to learn all that. Thank you.
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Aaron. I've got my wife here, Sarah, and our little baby, Micah. And go ahead. And we had the privilege of working with Raul, and I just, like everybody else here has stated, probably the biggest and best takeaway is a lifelong relationship with him and his family. They've just been so gracious to us and had the opportunity to learn quite a lot. Just a quick little bit of background. So Sarah and I moved into Peñasco, neighbors with Dave right here. And we moved last fall and took over a small little farm, 3.5 acres. And there's some remnants of some old pasture. And we thought that we got some veggie gardens, flower gardens. And so integrating sheep into the land is something that is, I guess, the purpose of us doing this. When we started this program, kind of unique, we're very much beginners. We had no sheep, we had no baby, we now have a baby, still no sheep. But this was Juniper here, this is a Navajo churro, and he might be joining us perhaps later this year, and then kind of filling out the flock and working with that. So a little bit of background. And we kind of broke up what our goals are into 3 categories, and I would say for us the most important was sort of learning and how to implement sort of an ecological aspect to the sheep management. So first, just preserving and restoring the native grasses that are already on the property and kind of encouraging those. We want to have a closed loop system on the farm. So really, this year in particular, I did a lot of mowing, and I want the sheep to do all of that next year. And like I said, we have an orchard, we have some vegetables and flower gardens, so we want to use the fertilizer for that as well. And then sort of also managing the less desirable plants on the property. And sort of the secondary aspect, Sarah has a cultural significance, and as I will as well, to the native sheep. And so we connected with the sanctuary that sort of maintains the genetic significance of those animals. And so that's something that would be really amazing for us to bring into the property. And lastly, you know, especially with our new fellow here, pretty much everything we do is for him. And so we want to have as much knowledge and control over the quality of our food. So growing our own vegetables and fruits, and then also having some meat or dairy products as well. So kind of a closed loop system for our property. I'll just kind of quickly go over some of this, but before we started, you know, we knew the concept of cover crop, and we knew the significance of native grasses, but we didn't really have a knowledge of how that would look on our specific property. And I'd say a lot of what we did was really trying to learn how some of these bigger principles might apply to us in our sort of landscape. And so Raul's been super helpful with that. And I'd say afterwards, you know, we've identified a lot of the significant grasses and nutritional grasses that are already on the property. So just looking at ways to sort of encourage those. As I already mentioned, the long-lasting relationship, both with Raul, his family, and the animals. So far we've drafted a site plan, which you'll see on the next slide for the property. We also came up with plans for a sort of 1 year and 5 years, so really quickly just building like a 3-sided barn, and then eventually building a beautiful permanent structure. So the next step, coming up with some plans for funding those projects, and probably like everybody here, also experienced learning how to manage and mend fencing, which was a lot of fun. So this is kind of a cartoon map of the property. And probably the most meaningful part is where it says number 1 up there. That's sort of the underutilized pasture, which you'll see in a photo, and sort of just where we're going to plan to build some infrastructure, where the barn will be, the orchard, and everything else. So we've kind of broken up the property into different sections and where we're going to implement the animals throughout. So there's a picture of Sarah and Micah in the north pasture, borders the Rio Santa Barbara. And you can see, you know, that's what the sheep have to look forward to. That's the amount of work I had to do by hand. So I'm going to let the sheep do all of that in the future. Just a few more photos of some of the pasture areas. The orchard, which we'll probably think about doing some electric fencing and get the sheep into there at least once or twice a year, and cut the grass and fertilize in that area as well. Here's just a couple photos of the grasses that we've found throughout the property. And there's Raul and I hanging out where the future barn will be. And so the next steps for us, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have some structure in place. And part of the reason bringing Navajo is they're pretty hardy, and we feel like we can kind of implement that hopefully pretty soon as well. So there's kind of the 1 year plan and an example of sort of the first structure that we plan to build, and some churro sheep that we look to hang out with soon. There's our 5 year plan with some nice permanent barn. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate being part of this program. Thanks to Raul and his family again. And we look forward to hearing what the rest of you have to present.
Dale, we're gonna have you up next. Yeah, we got your photos up.
My throat hurts. My fiance is going to do my presentation.
Oh, perfect. Well, if you want, you can charade. Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, I mean, they're all there, so why you if you wanted to sit on the one that you could, because we're all there. about as big as I can make it. See what you did there. So great.
My name is Robert. I'm from the Pueblo of Taos. My manager was Pat Pacheco, but unfortunately he couldn't be here today. He's dying doing doing what he does, teaching classes. So prior to us starting, I was already pretty much familiar with regenerative agriculture. I've been looking into it for some time, speaking to different people, attending different conferences and workshops or whatnot. So I was kind of hesitant to join the program, but Abby and Gabby kind of talked me into it. They wanted me to be a mentor, but I feel I was not prepared for that, so I chose the mentee route. One of our biggest challenges, of course, was getting together, having a full-time job, trying to get away. To spend time with my mentor was kind of challenging, but we did find time to go up and work his cattle, which I had never done before, so for me that was kind of awesome, working an animal, a much more docile animal than buffalo. So, that was a lot of fun for me. So what I basically did was I just made some poems, some of the stuff we did. So this photo that you see right here, this is called Pat Pacheco's Triple Trouble, Branding, Vaccinating, and Banding Bulls. Out on the range with the sun shining bright, Pat Pacheco was ready for a cowpoke fight. The cows were lined up all in a row, and Pat had a plan. He's got to show them. All right, boys and girls, here's the deal, Pat said, cracking his whip with a squeal. We're branding, vaccinating, banding too. So hold on tight, it's going to be a zoo. He grabbed the branding iron, and with a sizzle, it's hot. The cows started squirming like they'd just been caught. Don't worry, folks, this marks for your fame. You'll wear it proudly, just part of the game. One cow turned and gave Pat a glare, like, you're doing what to my rear? But Pat just winked. You'll thank me later. It ran just like a fancy waiter. Up next, the vaccination. Oh, what a thrill. Pat pulled out the needle, ready to fill. The cows all winked, giving him a stare, like, are you serious with that thing? It's not fair. But Pat was quick, and with one tiny poke, he said, don't worry, I'm no doctor, just a bloke. You'll be healthy and happy, running like new. Now who's next? Oh, that's right, the bulls are due. Now came the banding, a whole different game. Pat looked at the bulls and gave them a name. These big fellas need a little snip, he said with glee. And no, it's not that kind of surgery. The bulls looked at each other like, wait, what? Pat pulled out the bands and they began to strut. He slid them on with a snap and a flick. The bulls took off like they just learned a trick. One bull yelled, what's happening down there? Did we just get cut for the whole town to stare? Pat laughed, you'll leave just fine, no need to fret. Just a little banding, won't break a sweat. As the cows and bulls wandered off in a haze, Pat tipped his hat and said, now that's the craze. They're vaccinated, branded, and banded with care. You'll be the healthiest cattle out there. The cows were confused, the bulls kind of sore, but Pat just whistled, y'all thank me for sure. And as he rode off, he gave a great cheer. Pat Pacheco's Triple Trouble, the best show of the year. That was my first time working with cattle, vaccinating, branding. It kind of freaked me out. That was my first time. We don't brand our buffalo, so that was very interesting to me, but I did enjoy it. Different one. Okay, let's do that one. This one is the stormy chase for Pat Pacheco's cows. So he does lease some land up in the Black Lake area, so this is where we were at. This is currently where his cattle. It's a beautiful ranch up there. Unfortunately, from time to time, some of his cattle get out of his allotted area. The sky grew dark, the clouds rolled in, thunder rumbled like a drumskin. I saddled up, my heart did race. Pacheco's cows had made their escape. With lightning flashing sharp and bright, I spurred my horse and rode through the night. The storm was fierce, the wind a howl, but I had one goal, to find those cows. Through muddy trails and rain-soaked ground, I searched for hoof prints all around. Each flash of lightning lit the sky, and the cows nowhere, just clouds rolling by. I heard a moo, a distant sound, but when I rode closer, none were found. The storm grew louder, rain came down, but still not a cow in sight or sound. Then from the sky a lightning strike illuminated the cows, what a sight. There they were grazing near a tree, completely ignoring poor old me. I yelled, "Get back, you're in big trouble." But thunder cracked and the storm did double. The cows just stared, calm as can be, like, dude, it's nature, let us be free. So through the storm I cursed and swore, chasing cows but finding more. But the thunder, the rain, and the flash of light, till my horse gave up and called it a night. So now I sit soaked to the bone, wondering why I ever left home. Pacheco's cows still on the run, and I'm glad, and I'm just glad the storm is done. But mark my words, come the next rain, I'll be back on the trail again, with a better plan, a stronger will, and maybe a lightning rod just for the thrill. So yeah, that was my first time on horseback, actually chasing cows through the mountains. So it was a lot of fun. His horses are well trained for that kind of situation, so it's just a matter of training the cattle before you want them to go. This is just a picture of one of the watering troughs on the acreage. I had a lot more photos, but I didn't send them all. This is the area that we have to take the cows back to. Like I said, it's a beautiful piece of property. I do have one more. Pertains to regenerative agriculture, grazing. This one's called Pacheco's Eco Heroes, the Regenerative Grazing Squad. Pacheco stood proud, hands on his hips, with a grin on his face and his hat full of tips. He looked at his cows, grazing so wise. All right, ladies and gents, time to revolutionize. Forget the old ways, the plows and the sprays. We're going green, and we're gonna amaze. It's time to graze, but with a regenerative flair. We'll heal the soil and freshen the air. The cows blink like, wait, hold up, what's this? We're eco heroes now? Oh, Pat, you got grit. But Pat just grinned, yes sir, the squad, saving the earth while you munch on the sod. One cow named Betsy lifted her head. Regenerative grazing, what's that you just said? Pat pointed to the field, all lush and so green. Each bite you take is part of the scene. You see, when you graze but leave some behind, you're giving the grass time to regenerate and unwind. It's just not about eating your fill. It's about helping the soil to grow strong and chill. The cows all stared, their bellies quite full, wondering how they become so cool. Pat beamed, you're part of the healing crew. Every step you take helps this land renew. Now the cows began to prance with glee. They weren't just munching grass, they were setting the earth free. They moved from pasture to pasture like a ballet, and every day they had a part to play. Look at us, we're heroes, said his steer named Clyde. We're grazing and saving the planet worldwide. Pat laughed out loud, oh yes, that's the plan. We're turning this ranch into the best in the land. No pesticides, no plows, just cows in the field. With every hoof print, the soil's healed. Pat's cows, oh, they were proud and bold. They weren't just cows, they were soil gold. So here's to Pat with his herd so smart. Regenerative agriculture's the art. The cows, though confused, have become like the crew, healing the earth while munching on their stew.
Thanks, Mike. next we have Aria.
Hi everyone, my name is Aria. I grew up here in Taos. I've been farming on and off for about 5 years now. I've worked a little bit with livestock on some ranches in Washington, but it was really cool to be able to learn a little bit about ranching in the place that I grew up, and that was really what I was seeking to do through this mentorship program. Yeah, I've just been really interested in how ranching can complement farming. Particularly in building healthy, nourishing local food systems, especially in our valley. I was paired with Yolanda, who is a badass cattle rancher from El Salto, who's been ranching, their family's been ranching for a long time up there. And we irrigated some pasture land in Salto and Des Montes. She's also mayordomo of the Revalsa ditch in Des Montes. It was really cool for me as a woman to learn from a woman doing this work, to get a sense of the challenges, the dedication that takes, to learn from someone who's doing it so well, and it was so eager to share and generous with her knowledge, so thank you. For me, it was really cool to see the seasonal process, particularly of growing pasture, and what it takes to feed your cattle through the winter. I didn't grow up on a ditch here, so I was really eager to learn about acequia management and watershed management and flood irrigation, so that felt really valuable. We did some ditch cleaning in the beginning of the season. We learned how to harrow and seed a field. We did a couple of irrigation times, and she also taught me some equipment and tractor maintenance, which was super valuable because I've never really worked with machinery like that. And then we cut some hay the other day, so that was really cool. I also was really lucky to get the opportunity to work with Carlos at El Tros Farm and see his operation. He has a really impressive collective working vegetable farm and some sheep, and that was a gift to see that too. We did some electric fencing and some irrigation work, so that was sweet. And I really appreciated the benefit of a diverse and the necessity of a diverse and an intersectional operation to do this work, and just the way that they're bridging these gaps. Yeah, I just thought it was pretty impressive, so I really enjoyed seeing that, so thank you for having me. Also, it was cool to see the differences in irrigating, Yolanda's pastures versus these pastures over in Nichos. And the necessity of really getting to know your land in order to irrigate it effectively. And having specific systems to do that was really informative for me. But yeah, so I think for me, I really took away from it the way that this, and through the workshops and everything that everyone's been saying through these really valuable discussions, but how this is a lifestyle. And it's a way of being, and it's about listening to the land and thinking about the weather and strategizing based off of those things, and that changes in order to be effective, especially in a dry year like this one. So that was really valuable. I was really fortunate to see the commitment and dedication to this work from these two ranchers, but also the necessity of strong community and leaning on your neighbors and leaning on your family and having strong work partnerships in order to be able to do this was really amazing to see. And just the value of community here in the Taos Valley. I also got to see the depth of respect that this work requires. Respect for the land, the water, the animals as equal partners, not as commodities, but as relationships to be celebrated and cared for. And that was really beautiful. But yeah, I definitely grew in my knowledge and understanding of our watershed and acequia ecosystems. I have a much better grasp of what this takes in ways that can regenerate and nourish our soil, our land, and our communities. And I am pretty young. I'm not at the place where I'm ready to be a rancher yet, but I feel really grateful to have gotten a little bit of this knowledge and to be able to move forward in my interests in farming and ranching and try to bridge those interests. And yeah, just thank you to the TCEDC for such an awesome program. Thank you to everyone for all of your insightful comments over our workshops and our time together. I really enjoyed those. And thank you to Yolanda and Carlos for having me at their operations. It was really awesome.
I can just talk for a little bit anyway. I don't know how the words will go. They could go either way. My name's Dan Smith. I've been in Taos for about 12 years now, and so this program was really grateful for this program and for the community that we're all building together. My ranching mentor, who refused the title of mentor, is Lucas, with his farm up in Tierra Amarilla, and so the center point of our work together was a big work day in preparation for a work day where we had like 60 people out in that range, all helping out doing planting trees on contour. In Monica's presentation, there were some pictures from that as well. Planting trees on contour and doing fencing and other slash work to plant with the no-till seed drill rotational grazing areas.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just putting it on the share drive so Gabby can have it on her computer.
So my personal journey before I got to Taos, I spent a couple years in Jordan, adjacent to Israel, looking at really hyper degraded land in a hyper arid region. And so for me, this has been a journey from kind of organic gardening to ranching, and this was very fruitful for me because as we were doing the work with Lucas in this program, was starting to experiment out on our place out in Two Peaks, doing rotational grazing on pure sagebrush land. So it's been a real pleasure for me doing this, and yeah, what else can I say?
Sorry guys, I'm just pull up the drawing.
And so when if this movie comes up, we'll see some pictures from that work day, which was the centerpiece of our work together. And it was a meditation for me on the art of the work day and how you can bring a lot of people together to accomplish what might take months on your own, or maybe it would never get accomplished on your own. That's my perspective anyway. And yeah, looking forward to manifesting more spaces for us all to move drastically forward in our journey as farmers. Here's some pictures.
Beautiful.
The first half. The second half.
Last. Yeah. Okay, so last but not least, we have Carlos. He's gonna give a little presentation.
Well, I don't have anything formally prepared, but I want to ad-lib. The first thing I want to do is a big shout out to TCEDC and all you guys doing this work. It's excellent, excellent work. In fact, you guys are coming together to keep us all networked, and the aspect of visiting different farms and seeing people's different operations was really, really inspirational to me. To see what everyone's doing, everybody's on the ground, Us farmers and ranchers tend to be isolated because we're busy doing our work, staying on our property, you know, getting away from the property to go to attend a seminar or attend a workshop, you know, is difficult because usually we all experience the issue of labor shortage. So when we're out doing something of that nature, nobody's tending to our work. So the fact that you guys put this together and coordinated, I really, really appreciate it. Second thing is that very inspirational to me to be able to help out, and especially younger folks that are interested in this. It's like planting that seed, and you may not be able to see what ends up growing from that, but the seed's been planted. And just like an old apple tree that's been there for generations, people will talk and say, well, you know, that must have been planted by the ancestors. So what are people, next generations going to be saying about what our ancestors was? Today, people like Robert and Leo and other folks that are involved in this, Mark, Floyd, someday we're going to be the ancestors. So it's important. I might feel like one already, Mark. You've been doing enough work for 10 of us. But anyway, one of the highlights in that regard is the word got out about what was going on, the Regenerative Mentorship Program and people that were doing it. I had an organization reach out to me that was doing a Future Farmers Apprenticeship Program, and they came on the property also. And at the end of the day, we were doing the circle, the high-low, and the buffalo. High is obviously what was the highlight of your day or the visit. The lows, what's the low part, what you struggle with. The buffalo is something that happened that was funny or something that you did that was helpful. And this one young man that lives here in Taos, in the middle of town, didn't realize that there's these little farms around, little places that are just tucked away. And he really got into the gardening aspect of it. And at the end, he got kind of quiet, and he says, well, I think what this really gives me is hope for the future, hope for my future. So for me, that was touching, that was inspirational, and for my perspective, it gives him more energy to do this because it is purposeful work. And even though sometimes, like I said, you feel like you're out there doing it on your own, but you're not. What we're doing is purposeful. Mark, Leo, Robert, and all these, Dell, that's all good stuff. And thank you again, TCEDC, for putting it together and making it happen. Because an organization like yours is so important, and we're so fortunate to have you guys here, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for those presentations. Those were really thoughtful and creative, and that was really, really cool for me to hear what you guys have been doing. I hope that it was just as cool for all of you guys listening. I know I mentioned that there's cake, and I think there is, but it's on the way. So, you all have Post-it notes in front of you. Can you go ahead and write your name on all the Post-it notes that you have in front of you? And then when you're done, we're going to file around this way, and as you're going to grab your gift bags and then come back to your seats, you can stick your little Post-it note with your name on it wherever you feel that it belongs on each poster here. The last two questions are for the mentees only to answer. Just go through, just gut response, slap it where you think it belongs, grab your gift bag on the table, and then sit back down here. We're going to have a little discussion, pass the mic around and do some quick answers to the discussion questions that you see on the board. So again, write your name on your Post-it notes, put your Post-it notes on the flyers wherever you think they belong, grab your bag, and then come back down to your seat. Thanks.
Yes.
Everybody? Or that you mentioned as well?
Yeah, I thought my partner
Remind me. The cake's running late, but if it's
Maybe our air.
Who's going to be a negative Nancy?
She just walked out the door. We'll make this work. We'll try to do this for next year. We're good, we're good. I guess it's going to be a tight turnaround. Okay, and then we'll just, I mean, yeah. Yeah, let's do first.
Helping me place I know, right? This is great.
Checks are in there too. Money and gas. I want to see, maybe you want to see what's on there. Okay, there was lots of here. Yeah, that was really good. They're too small. Yeah, next door. Yeah. So that's next door.
And we're gonna do, as soon as you finish, just come back to your seat and we're gonna do a little discussion with the questions that are on the board. So we're gonna pass the mic around and everyone who was in the program can answer in like a one-sentence answer the following questions. Beep, bop, boop. So whenever you guys are ready, we'll start that.
Okay, so we're gonna go through each prompt one by one, and we're gonna pass the mic around, and if you can briefly in one sentence answer the question to the first prompt, and then we'll make our way to the second one.
Sweet.
All right. So the first question is, what ranging technique or knowledge area do you feel you learned the most about and why? In one sentence.
Probably the most about rotational grazing and cover cropping because of the use of it in the work that we had over at Lucas's, and that was really useful for me, again, like I said in my presentation, with what I'm doing right now. So that's really great.
One of the parts that, one of the ranching techniques that I picked up was from Matt Sexton, and I visited his farm. And the way he has that water line laid out with quick connectors on down his fields, so that when he does his rotational grazing, he just has to move his water trough over there and doesn't have to worry about, you know, the water. It's a good way to deliver water to the small pellets. I really like it. I'll be instituting that in my place.
Good answer.
All right, so what ranching technique? Well, I think I benefited from, you know, all the other mentors as well as the mentees. I think the networking is the biggest ranching technique that I say I took away from the program. As you guys know, working in a small community like, you know, Taos or the regionally, networking is critical to your success. So being able to count on your neighbor or even your buddy from down the road to help you put up some crops, or, you know, get that, you know, job or project done or started, is going to be huge. So not so much like a rotational grazing or a meat handling technique, more than networking things that I took away.
Thanks, Raul. Awesome. What came to the fore for me in sharing with Elise is just a reminder how incredibly exhausted our landscape is. We've inevitably, out of need, focused on getting things from it. And so I think this really came to the fore when we were in the forest, and I was showing her how the middle was eaten out of any grass plants, and they're not able to produce grass really at all in most cases. Like an area where the grass is actually presenting itself is an anomaly. It's unusual in the Pinon forest because of a huge imbalance that's been created in part by logging and in part by just really consistent high pressure by grazing, I think primarily sheep back in the day, right? So out of that, what I felt like I wanted to share with Elise that I owed it to her was to shift our mindset from what we get. You know, like, it's not how many pounds of beef we get. Is the place better when we're done? Does it have a better ability to generate abundance on our next step? So maybe that might be something as simple as, yes, take the first cut because you kind of have to now to stop the weeds from growing, but let that second cut stand and put animals on it and maybe feed the whole first cut back on the same field. So that's a way that you're still ending up with animals gaining, but you haven't just gone and taken 2 cuts and then put the livestock back on the same field and skinned it off all winter. Year after year, we're just going to wear our land out even more, and we're going to be in a worse place. So I think the joy of the land responding to that kind of care is that number one ranching technique is what came up. And I think just in the conversation of it, more ideas came up, like when I just cited about it. How do we do this? Just living the question. So thank you. It's a real privilege.
Looking at those questions, I guess the one that strikes me in terms of what we experienced in some of the workshops were, and what I need to learn more about is really around the marketing and how we do on the business side. Because in the end, not only do we need to turn a profit, but if you're a young person, why would you want to do this if if you're doing it at a loss, for instance? And so we're entering a time where people care more about what they eat. And so we provide better quality options in terms of not only fruits, vegetables, but again, the proteins that we make available through our products. And so in the past, especially in this generation, I know I mostly subsidize my ranch. But I can't, and it's because I've grown up on the ranch and it's how I grew up, and it's more of, to a larger extent, lifestyle. But somebody coming into it, I think there's opportunities, going to be available as we age out. And, something that I was sharing with Abe is there'll be public land opportunities for grazing for people to start ranches and expand ranches. So I think it's about all of developing that quality of product that we can make a living on. Also, raising those organic or better yet, regenerative type agricultural products on that realm also is important. So, nice.
For me, it was definitely like a safety management and watershed management. I just kind of like knowing, like understanding a bit better about pasture health and that type of work.
I appreciated having the opportunity to learn, although nothing's coming to mind, for the taxes, like just have a forum group to talk about different methodologies for structuring a business and how to do those taxes. But it's not my favorite thing to think about, but it was nice.
No complaints. I guess the kind of biggest thing I learned, again, I knew a little bit about it, but was integrating technology into herd management. So, like, Pat was able to see where those cattle got out at. So he was able to look and see over here, which makes things a lot easier, more cost effective, less time spending out looking for cattle and whatnot. So I think that was the biggest thing that I kind of learned. And then it made me thinking of actually moving my program for the Pueblo into cattle as well. Of course, we have buffalo, and our traditional ties are more connected to the buffalo than anything. So it made me think, well, why not? Let me just raise the buffalo for our own needs, and then let's raise cattle, to create income and provide our meat into our community that way. So I think that's the biggest thing that I learned.
Yeah, I'd say kind of for us, the biggest takeaway was, I came into the program wanting to develop a plan for the property, which we did accomplish. And working with Raul, I think something that I definitely need to consider and implement is just observation. So it's great to have the plan, but then just observing, the land, the animals, and being able to change the plan as needed, come up with new solutions to new problems as they arise, and just paying a lot of attention to those things. So it's a very hands-on approach, and something I look forward to kind of continuing and doing. That was, for us, the biggest takeaway.
So what ranching technique that I learned from me and Martin started our project a couple years ago is pretty much started on a brown field. There was nothing there, prairie dogs. And so what we learned is about cover cropping. So what we learned from that, it helps get rid of some of the prairie dogs, believe it or not. And it's also made the fields looking green again, which is part of the big thing that we wanted to get going. And now we're putting the sheep on there now, and it's looking a lot better. So that's one thing I felt that we did good, and we're still learning about it. We're still doing some work on it. We're still, it's an ongoing process, but that's one of the biggest things we picked up is cover cropping.
And then also having some bell grazing on that property, because there's some winter rye that didn't really grow everywhere on the property. So we just put like bell grazing on the bare spots and to try and keep some cover on the ground.
Let's see, I guess one of the things that I learned about the most was the importance of fencing, especially in public lands. You know, I mean, I come from a background, a lot of different, you know, schools of thought on you know, using public lands for grazing, and you know, it's always been something that, you know, I want to understand a little bit more about, and how it can be done properly in a way that is regenerative. And yeah, so that fencing to, you know, to make rotational grazing possible is super important, to use public lands in a proper way that can be both, you know, beneficial for the natural habitat and the ecosystem, and also, you know, the ranchers that are managing those places. So,
I think along the lines of what you were saying, Aaron, it's really paying attention that struck me. Like when you come and take care of the animals, it's like, wait, what else needs care? What else can I do? What else do I need to pay attention to, whether that's weeds or pests or what the vegetation is doing? So that's my biggest takeaway, and that encompasses so much of actual practices within.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so for time purposes, we are going to pivot and combine question 2 and 4. So what did you want to learn more about and why? And what could TCEDC do better as program facilitators? If you could run this program next year, what would you do different? And since it's 2 questions, we'll have 2 sentence answers. Let's just do the 2 sentence answers because it looks like our cake has arrived.
Sure. So I mean,
yeah. So what did you want to learn more about and why? And what could TCEDC do better as program facilitators?
I think something that we touched on with Mark was the different kind of seed mixes that you've used in different places, and I think that's an area I want to learn more about. Maybe that's a workshop with one of the partner organizations, but kind of the basics of what do you want to include in your cover cropping and why specifically for this land? That's kind of my next question. And then TCEDC do better as program facilitators. You guys were pretty good. It was great to work with you all. I think I'm really enjoying getting to hear from everyone today, and having more of that would be really cool.
I'm interested in learning more about soil health, and especially on degraded sagebrush land, and like, you know, thinking of really progressive ways of how to work with that. And I don't think y'all could have done any better, really. I was like, you needed to bother us for things you've done. And so, yeah, it was perfect. Thank you.
I don't have any comments. Yeah, I thought you guys did a great job. I'd like to see this be done again in the future. And just fun to keep going.
Ditto, great job. Couldn't think of any improvements you could make. Please do the same. And forage enhancement. The foundation of all this is forage in all the different ways. Examples, experts, how can we optimize our productivity there? Because that's tied in with soil health, that's tied in with preventing land degradation, holding water in the land. Thank you.
Good job, first of all. And really can't think of too much. I would say where it is possible, maybe the opportunity to, beyond just, the mentorship or interns is, availability of maybe some of the mentees, for paid labor, for instance. Like in Abe's case, he had a job, he was working during the week and stuff, so. But if there's a young person that needs, some employment, maybe we could, match that in with it. I'd have been willing to pay for more hours of labor, not full time, but those sort of opportunities. So.
Thank you. For what I would want to learn more about, my mentor Yolanda sold a lot of her cattle in preparation for kind of a dry year due to lack of snow. So I didn't work a ton with the livestock themselves. So I would have enjoyed doing that, but I still had a really great experience overall. But if I were to do it again, I would love to work more with livestock. And yeah, I think that TCEDC was awesome. I think there were some really great workshops. I think it would be nice to have maybe like a digital space with just like one space that's recordings or just like pamphlets, like everything that we received, because we received a lot, which is awesome, but just one space where we could access that would be really valuable. Also, I would have loved to have done maybe 1 or 2 more ranch tours and see some of the operations that other mentors are doing, which I totally get is really hard to coordinate, but it would have been awesome to see kind of just other operations and other processes and stuff. Or a work day also.
The business structuring and the sort of tax information was really good, and maybe there could be more of. I'm not sure. And then, I mean, you guys did great. You were trying to herd cats, and you did.
Mm-hmm.
Got them in a corner, and I think you tried with Slack for a bit. It seemed like group text was about the best way, which has its cons as well. But yeah, it's hard for the communication aspect, I'm sure.
Yeah, open to recommendations.
With group text.
Text, yeah.
For me, every day is a learning process, so I can't really specify what more I would want to learn. But I think a combination of everything that I've learned with Pat and just moving forward and learning more from programs like this, I think that just makes me a more rounded person. So for me, I just can't specify what more I would learn specifically. As far as you guys, I think you guys did a great job. For me, I think just a little bit more on the business side of things. Creating that structure all the way from A to Z, as well as more training on animal processing. I think that's very valuable for those of us that want to do our own processing and feed our families or whatnot. But otherwise, good job. And ice cream next time with cake too.
Yeah. Word.
Yeah, I'll comment on things that are just very specific to our situation. So what we would want to learn more about is probably electric fencing for our property. It's where we live, and we're doing flowers and vegetables and orchards, so it's really important for us to protect some of those areas. I don't know that anything could be done better. Each of us has very unique circumstances, so it's really hard to cater to a large group. I enjoy ranch time, so kind of what Aria was saying, just more time like on ranches. I find that that's just a great way to learn. I enjoyed all of the workshops in there as well, but yeah, time on the ranch would be great.
So what I want to learn more about is maybe the business side of the ranching part, I know some, but it's more valuable for me and my team to get your program going, so that'd be one of these to learn more about. And as far as Abby and Gabby, you guys did a heck of a job. Appreciate all you guys done for us. Appreciate it.
I would say to learn more about maybe like when to plant some seeds and why to plant them at that time. And then otherwise I thought the program was good just the way it was, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I think I learned a lot, really as much as I could have in the mentorship. Some of the things that I would have liked to learn a little bit more about is using machinery, using implements and balers, different kinds of equipment and stuff. Let's see, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, meat processing. It'd be really nice to learn how to do your own meat processing. And then yeah, I think you guys did a really great job. There's only so much you can do, and it's a lot of things that you could do, but you guys organized it really well. One idea that you guys might consider doing next time is like having a optional like bi-weekly or even monthly Zoom thing where people can just get together and just shoot the shit or whatever about their experience and maybe clarify some things with each other and stuff that they might feel like they could understand better or whatever, like taxes, like just talking to each other about taxes, talking to each other about business modeling and everything, because that's a lot of what we would do like when we were on our working together and stuff, and we just have a lot of information that we could share in the whole group that maybe didn't get shared as much because we were mostly just between mentor and mentee, and the whole group got together just a few times. So yeah, just food for thought.
What would TCEDC do better as program facilitators? I don't really know what could be done better other than you guys have a good team and keep it together. Keep the team together. I think your capacity is excellent. You did a good job of communicating to us, to me. As far as anything else, this one's on me, and that's just time management, my own time management. But the issue around the business modeling, the Tinney group does a good job of, taking agribusiness models and scaling down to small scales, to a small farmer scale. That's good, but I myself could benefit from more information around that. And I think we're all unique. Everybody's got a little different niche going, but there's also a lot of what we do have in common that can be maybe teased out a little bit to focus on some of the resources that can be used more by all of us in general. We all, like I say, we're all unique, and we all have individual areas where we can use help with. But it's kind of hard to target all those unique spots that need help. But in general, maybe another workshop that has to do with addressing what you guys can gather up about what those areas are, and then we can just have like a round table. And one of the things I like about this whole program is just learning from other people that are doing this. As because, we're not the only ones, we're not the last ones, and this has been done before. Really, the going around to people's farms was really beneficial for me, and that's one aspect that I think would be important to continue.
Sweet, thank you everyone for all that feedback, we really appreciate it, and yeah, we're recording this, so we're gonna go through and watch the footage later and make some more elaborate notes than we would be able to right now. But yeah, thanks so much everyone. I wanted to shout out Jessie Hook in the back, some of you might remember from interviewing her. But yeah, Jessie helped organize a lot of this program before its physical start, and it definitely wouldn't be what it was without her, so thanks so much Jessie.
Good job. And while I have a captive audience, I'm just going to have a few closing remarks. I want to thank you all for your thoughtful presentations and reflections. I also want to thank you for engaging in our interactive evaluation. It helps us secure our grant funding, so we appreciate you taking the time to do it this way. This was our first year running the Regenerative Ranching Mentorship Program, and it was truly a privilege to get to know each of you and learn about the land-based projects you are leading. It was also my first year at TCEDC, so I've learned so much from you, and I'm especially grateful for all those of your ranches and properties I was able to tour and get to see like the on-the-ground results of the stewardship practices you guys are implementing. It's very inspiring. And thank you for your willingness to share what you're doing. It helps keep this knowledge alive and growing. So we would love to keep this momentum going. If you'd like to stay involved with TCEDC, you're welcome to sign up to our mailing list. We have QR codes all around the fiesta. We also welcome you to speak at or help host future workshops, so just let us know if you're interested. And if you sign up for our mailing list, we keep you posted on our monthly newsletter of all the upcoming events. We also want to thank our partners in the De La Tierra Coalition, and we have their mailing lists available too if you're interested in signing up for those. Our doors are open. You can visit our resource center any day by making an appointment with us through the client info sheet on the TCEDC website. We have grant info, computer access, books, and can support you through application processes for programs like NRCS Equip program and NMDA's Healthy Soil program. We can also help point you to other resources. And also, if you just want to stop by and say hi, we'd love to just stay connected with all of you.